Hello there guys, and welcome to Mad Doc Minis. In this video I'm going to be building some Warhammer 30k Despoilers using some third-party components that I purchased from an Etsy seller. And I'm going to add those to the plastic Mark III Marines from the Horus Heresy range and see what happens. Now, in these boxes, I've got lots of little baggies and hundreds of components, and it's always a good idea in these situations to double check that you have everything you should in your order. I've done that off screen and everything is present and correct. I've gone for a mixture of Mark III and Mark VI components here. I'm going to focus on the Mark III stuff in this video. Now, I've got a lot of chain axes because I'm going for World Eaters, but as optional extras included in the kit, you get maces, spears, you get power swords and power axes, so you can have a real ragtag look to your squad if that's what you desire, you know, barbaric kind of look. As it happens, I'm going for a more uniform approach across my squad and having chain axes and bolt pistols all the way through, but there's lots of little useful parts that will end up in my bits box here. These are the Mark III arms. You've got a fixed elbow point, as you can see here, and a pretty standard flat attachment point on the inside of the shoulder. You will need to shave any pegs off of the Mark III torsos in order to glue them in place, of course. The forearm is a separate component and comes as a van brace here, very, very small. I thought this was needlessly complicated when I first saw it, but actually this system works wonderfully for posing the miniatures, and I will show you what I mean in more detail in a minute. So there's a peg and a receiver system which doesn't have too tight a fit, and it allows you to rotate through a full range to get your posing when you're doing a dry fitting with the miniature, like so. So I went ahead and put one together. I shaved the torso down, as I mentioned, and attached the arms on, as you normally would. No surprises there. Super glue needed here for resin components, of course. Now, once I was happy with the arm position, I grabbed the van braces and the weapon hands and glued those together as separate sub-assemblies, and that was the best way forward, I found. Once those were dry and set, I then could have a bit of fun posing the miniature and getting them where I wanted. You can see here the options are kind of endless, and it genuinely allows you to have different individuals throughout the entire squad. It's a really, really good little system and has a much more natural look to it compared to when you're rotating at the wrist, or at least in my view. So you can see here, once I was happy where I wanted them to go, I super glued those in place, and I kind of set about doing that across the whole 20-man squad. I had lots of fun doing the posing here. It was just really, really good and allowed for endless options. So I can't recommend them enough. It's really, really fun, guys. So I put all the Mark III components on off screen. You don't need me to show you how to do that, of course, but they end up looking really, really good. And I'll show you a couple of other examples. You've got lots of variation on where you can put the arms. The arms themselves are quite varied. There's lots of options with the bend in the elbow and things. So you can mess around to your heart's content with posing, really. You've got one across the body there, look, one held up. It's all good, guys. This is one of my favourites, the axe held at a side angle with the bolt pistol firing underneath. Really, really nice. So yeah, what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to put a basic tabletop standard paint job down on them for World Eaters. If you're interested, stick around for that and I'll take you through the steps I did for that. Don't expect a stellar paint job, guys. That's not really my approach, but I'll show you what I did with these. I put all 20 miniatures together, as I described, and had enormous fun doing so. And when they were ready, I base coated them in white scar, which was a really good foundation for World Eaters. I then used this fantastic paint from Green Stuff World called Neptunus Blue, which is a metallic blue paint for the pauldrons. I really like metallics on the Horus Heresy miniatures. I just think it looks more Baroque and more appropriate in somehow. You may want to use a different colour, of course. So once the pauldrons were done, I used Black Templar on the weapons, real lifesaver and a time saver for me because I hate painting weapons. So that goes down on all the chain axes and the bolt pistols. Now, once that was done, I used a little bit of Rune Lord brass around the trim on the shoulder pads. And I found this colour to be really, really good for my World Eaters. I think it works better than a kind of more garish gold. It just looks more barbaric somehow. Just really fits nicely with the theming of the World Eaters, I think. So there we go, looking snazzy. Moving on, I then kind of fill in that little skull area where the kind of belt buckle area is with a little bit of that Rune Lord as well. Just a pop of colour in an otherwise kind of sea of white there. Just a nice little touch, I found. Then it was transfer time. I wanted to get maximum value out of my very expensive World Eaters transfer sheet, and I put loads of transfers all over these using Microsol and Microset. I did a separate video on how I use these products, so go and check that out in the video description if you're interested. So once all the transfers were laid down, I then set about doing the eyes with a little bit of Blood Angels Red contrast paint. I did do some extra work on the eyes off screen to do the kind of lens effect on them, but I couldn't really film that effectively. I then put some lead belcher down on selected components on the weapons there, just to kind of, you know, break up the black a little bit. And I also did a similar thing with the backpacks using a Basilium Grey just in some of the vents and some of the kind of working areas, just to break up that kind of big white area, really. I'm glad I did that as well, because it definitely was nice to have that broken up a little bit. So after I've finished doing all the kind of backpacks, I then go over the whole thing with my version of Marine Juice. So kind of Agrax Earthshade, Lamium Medium, and a little bit of water as well. So it finishes nice and matte, and it's quite watery, the kind of substance I use. That's quite important. You can see here the difference. We're going for quite a dirty white, and I really like that. I don't like the stark white really for World Eaters. I then weathered the armour using some Rhinox hide and an old stubby brush just to kind of do some basic chipping effects, and used the same paint to paint the bases. I do finish the bases with some Geek Gaming base ready range stuff off screen as well. So I'm going to throw these up on a rotating platform for you. Let me know what you think, guys, and if you've enjoyed the content, please consider liking and sharing. It really does help me out, and if you're not already subscribed, consider giving me a sub. I really hope you enjoyed the process, and I hope you were impressed as I was with these components to finish off the Despoilers. Much less expensive than going through the GW route, so worth looking at. And yeah, hope you enjoyed, guys, and I will catch you in a future video. Cheers.